So I shared a video yesterday about the worst advice I had from different singers given to brides, and the feedback from the ladies is very overwhelming. I put up a Q&A yesterday on the said topic, and this is what the ladies had to share. Sharifah, my singer, told me to have at least 2 Panados who are better than my man. That is the only way I'll survive marriage. Another one said, my singer told me to always ignore my husband's other women. I nearly died of STDs. The other one is telling me she told me to always clean my husband after sex. I should never leave him on the table while he eats. I should go with him to the bathroom and I must obey him. The other one said she told me I must cook, submit, obey, leave my bank job because men do not like corporate women. Banange Sharifah servant. The other one said she told me that omsajateba mumma newoba oli munsonga. I must always improvise. What are we teaching here? Translation: that you must always serve leg, give your husband sex, regardless of whether you're on your period or not. The other one said, Sharifah, she told me not to put all my eggs in one basket, but I should have kids with another man as long as he's rich, and I keep that secret to myself. The other one is saying, I'm in a long distance relationship and my auntie hooked me up with a side nigger, saying that my hubby is certainly doing the same thing wherever he is. The other one said that, Sharifah, mine taught me how to please my man sexually, but that's all I do, please him. But I get nothing in return, just his humping and sweat. But men, what are your just doing, Konsongeno? Girl child has complained for so many years, but nothing is changing. We need to talk about this. The other one is saying that, Sharifah, mine told me that if my husband has a small stick, I should get one on the side with a bigger stick because sex is important in marriage. But what marriage are we talking about here? Anyway, the other one is saying that Nkumbi is a must. I was told that my man should never ever have to clean me. Why not? Can't we clean each other? Anyway, my singer said that Omsaja alino kusajja lata. Let the man cheat as much as he wants, as long as he comes back home. Comes back home with what? STD. Anyway, the other one said that, Sharifah, she told me to always keep my personal stuff, finances, investments separate and private, that men cannot be trusted. So if men can't be trusted, then why is she getting married? To a person she cannot trust. Anywho, this one is saying, Sharifah, my singer told me to always be sharp. I need to get all my name on this man's property, whatever it takes. I must save for a rainy day. Sharifah, my friend's aunt slept with her man just to make sure he knows what he's doing before he commits to her. Commits to her daughter. Wow. This one is saying, Sharifah, my man told me that I should always open the door for my husband naked. Okay, this is very unrealistic. The other one is saying, Sharifah, my man told me that without juju, I should always start my marriage with witchcraft or dini terukola. See, all this advice that I got yesterday made me realize that lately there is so much information, thoughts, opinions, noise, advice dished out there online and offline on marriages, business, entrepreneurship, life. And I'm here to tell you that just because someone stands up to speak doesn't really mean they are talking sense. Just because you are asking for advice doesn't mean they will give sound advice, right? Learn to reflect on that advice and take it with a pinch of salt, because the fact is not all advice is good advice. Even from us counselors, sheikhs, pastors, by motivational speaker. Imagine my page, for example, it shares general psychoeducation information, and sometimes it may not suit your situation or resonate with you. Yes? So sometimes you need to learn to take what connects and leave the rest. All the information we share might not apply to everyone's situation because our situations vary, so it can easily be misinterpreted. Now look, I know once upon a time we were told that advice is good, particularly if it comes from someone who is older or someone who is wiser. Sindio? And that the assumption is that everyone who dispenses advice is wise and well-meaning. But all advice, no matter how good it seems and who it comes from, should be evaluated and taken in context, as it is often clouded by other factors. Some of the factors that influence advice doled out by people out there are: number one, background. A lot of times our background affects our decision-making processes and consequently the advice we give. Often, people give advice based on what they have seen all their life because this is all they know. Factor number two is personal experience, right? Our experience, whether past or present, affects our perception and the advice we dispense. I know of a lady who became very bitter after her fiancé stood her up at the altar on her wedding day. Now, the bitterness colors her paradigm, okay? And subsequently, the advice that she's giving to people out there. Similarly, someone who is undergoing marital distress because of an unfaithful spouse will likely have negative perceptions of marriage and discourage a couple who are excited about their wedding. You'll often find yourself being discouraged by such people and have to remind yourself that you need not relive their negative experiences. We are different and go through different experiences. Just because it happened to one person does not mean it will happen to all of us. Factor number 3 is perception. Whether we know it or not, whatever advice people give is colored by their perception. This is at varying levels. First, there are people who are generally negative and poke holes in everything without advancing a better option. The optimist will encourage and the pessimist will discourage because that is the lens through which they see the world. Second is the person's perception of you. If they have decided you're foolish, they will treat you as such and based on the assumption that you cannot possibly think of anything intelligent. Regardless of what influences their perception, the bottom line is that such people will either raise you or put you down. The best is to keep away from those who either view you negatively or are generally pessimistic. On the other hand, though, try to be more objective with the advice from those who also think too highly of you. These cheerleaders could unintentionally cheer you into a disaster if you're not careful. Also, beware that we have such different perceptions that may appear like the road to hell for one person, but could lead, to heaven on earth for another person. Factor number 4 is the level of knowledge. Now, some people mean well, but simply lack the information and knowledge to be good advisors. They may want to see you rise, but have insufficient information to give effective advice. Right? Someone who is an expert in one area is not necessarily one in everything. Just because someone gave you good advice about what car to buy based on their mechanical engineering background does not mean they will necessarily give sound advice about investments. Okay? Don't be a victim of other people's ignorance, no matter how well their intentions. Some people are confident despite their ignorance and can give very misleading advice. Now, factor number 5 is unfounded fears. Okay? If your friend's hubby and exes were all toxic, her advice will be definitely, all men are trash. Right? But that's her fear. Based off of what she has gone through. It doesn't have to be your fear because not all men are trash. So don't let people project their fears on you. Factor number 6 is misplaced judgment. Right? Sometimes people can create a box and try to force you to fit in it based on their limited knowledge about you. So it will help here to believe in yourself when faced with people like this. Factor number 7 is not everyone really means well, right? Human beings occasionally exhibit a characteristic called jealousy. We all know about that. Sometimes it manifests through the dispensing of harmful counsel, quoted as advice. So not everyone means well for you. Some people are wicked, right? And find pleasure in watching other people stumble and fall while others are just mischievous. Also, some people may ill-advise you so that you repeat the mistakes they made. And they can find comfort in numbers. We all know that misery loves company, right? So the human mind can sometimes conceive unfathomable evil. Beware. Factor number 8 and the last one is temperament and personality. Who we are affects our actions. We give advice based on our perception and how we would react if faced with a similar situation. Our personalities permeate the advice we give. For example, the 4 personality types. We have the melancholic. These ones are always feeling, or expressing pensive sadness, emptiness, loneliness. And we have the choleric. These ones are irritable, bad-tempered, and we have the phlegmatic. These ones are calm, composed, not easily excited to action or display of emotion. And then we have the sanguine, the optimistic, positive, especially in an apparent or bad, difficult situation. They might even come off naive. Now, you see, when faced with a difficult situation, all these people with different personalities will handle that situation differently and might advise you based off of that. Now, many people who make serious career, financial, spiritual, or even relationship mistakes is because of the sources of advice that we choose. Please exercise caution. Sieve, sengeja information jabakwade, sengeja advice jabakwade. It doesn't matter who it's coming from. Now, the aim of this video is not to discourage people from taking advice. I mean, that's what I do for a living, right? There are numerous benefits to taking advice, like learning from other people's knowledge, getting fresh ideas, avoiding repeating old mistakes, among others. The aim is to simply encourage you to be more objective in seeking and accepting advice. It's to help you be mindful that counsel is influenced by various factors. And advisors like us are fallible human beings who just love to dispense advice, which can either be beneficial or detrimental, right? Sometimes we mean well, but we also fall short to the bantu. So you need to evaluate advice and its intentions before accepting it, because it will influence the decisions you make, and ultimately you will have to live with the consequences, not us. For us, for backward advice, we move on with our lives, but you live with the consequences. Assalam, Alaykum, Warahmatullah, Wabarakatuh. So every time I'm at a bridal shower, I hear different pieces of advice that singers have given brides prior to their weddings, and I'm always in shock. Recently, I was at a shower and the bride told me that singer ya Mugambi afuneyo kapanado. She was told to get a side nigga. Reason? Because the singer convinced her that the husband was definitely going to have a side piece in place. But I keep wondering, what are you preparing this girl for exactly? Marriage? With that kind of advice? Another one I had was, if he cheats on you, it's because you are not giving him what he needs. So anytime he wants you, anytime he needs you, I don't care if you're in the mood or not, just avail yourself. Wange chukulema wadi wati sobola. And I'm like, what? You're training her to be what, a glorified slave? So she has no say at all, no voice. Anyway, I don't even know how you can blame someone for another person's bad behavior, but all right. Another one I had was, you must stay married no matter what. Especially for the kids if you have any. But most importantly, what's a woman without a husband? They must stay no matter what. This was advice given to a bride. Another one I had was, you are not a woman if you did not visit the bush. A man will never respect you. But I would like to, differ. There are men who actually don't care about that stuff. Anyway, another one I had was, just ignore him. Regarding anything he does that seems to take him away from you, just keep quiet and work on yourself in the areas that you're lacking, so that you can learn how to tame him. So you're teaching the bride to learn to please this man who is behaving really badly. She should just keep working on herself, work on the things that she is lacking. But we are not talking about the man's bad behavior here. How is this a good preparation for a bride prior to her wedding? Anyway, another one that I had was, never go to bed angry. If you have to kneel down all night begging him to speak, do it. But I beg to differ. You all know that sometimes a break and distance from the argument can be far more productive than going round and round in circles. I don't see how arguing through the night is actually good marital advice. Anyway, another one that I had was, there is a certain herb you can take to make him love you more. There is a certain herb you can take to make you sweeter in bed. There is a certain herb you can give him to give you everything, to just control him. But why would anyone want to do this to another human being? How is this good marital advice? Another one I had was, men do not like women who are richer than them. We want to be strong, confident, empowered. If that is your plan, listen, a last one that I heard recently was, the only way to a man's heart is through his stomach and his pants. Really? That's the only way through a man's heart, to a man's heart? Because what, men only have two emotions? Come on. Anyway, I would like to know, should this advice be taken to heart, sieved accordingly, or should it just be ignored? What's the worst piece of advice your singer has ever given you? Let's share more in the comment section.